Welcome to the season of Advent. It starts the 4 Sundays that lead up to Christmas. And so it is guided by the calendar and the seasons that you could say. But Advent also happens in what we would call spiritual time or Kairos time. Now, Chronos time is the time that the mind knows, the days on the calendar. And so Advent, for sure, it is guided by our calendar and the seasons. But Chronos time, what the mind knows, we would only be celebrating Advent then in December, November, December. But in Kairos time is all about what the soul knows. And so it's in Kairos time, in this spiritual time, where we can tap into the transformation that Advent brings all year long in all of our lives. And with Kairos time, as we're working in this transformation of Advent, what we're doing is we're awakening to our own light. We're creating the start of a spiritual revolution that is happening within us. So it's not just limited to this time of year. We can actually tap into the powers of, so far, what we've done is hope and faith, peace, and now love. Now, our first Sunday of Advent, it does start out with hope and faith. And hope and faith are a partnership. And it starts the process of awakening and helps us remember who we are. Because what happens is that we receive a divine inspiration or some kind of a divine download, and we feel excited by what we just saw in our imagination. And so we feel that, wow, creating this experience can actually be a possibility. This can actually be a possibility. And so this is hope. We feel that hope. Well, hope then becomes a catalyst for faith, because when we have this feeling of hope, this feeling that, yeah, this could actually be a possibility in my life. So now we're inspired to listen and act when we receive divine guidance. So we listen and act in faith. And so when we're listening and acting in faith, life starts looking different for us. When we listen and act in faith, we call forth greater good through us, for us and out into our lives, but we call forth greater good also for other people. Okay, so listening and acting in faith causes this force of good to work through us that actually can make a difference in the world itself also, not just our own well-being, but everybody else. Then we move into peace. And we bring peace into our lives by remembering our true nature, that we are an expression of the divine. And we start this process, of course, through the practice of hope and faith. But as we listen and act in faith and we realize, oh, I don't need things out here to calm down so I can experience peace. I'm generating peace from within me. And so we discover then that we are peace generators. Oh, I generate peace from within me. I am a peace generator. And generate means to bring into being. That's all it means. We bring peace into being by remembering we can bring peace into being. That's how we do it. We remember we can do it because of who we are and what we are. Now, this third Sunday of Advent, we are celebrating the power of love. And I'm talking big love, cosmic love, that is a force whose sweep is irresistible. And so what I want to talk about today are 4 aspects of this big love. And by no means is this the end all of what love really is, but I think it was just a really nice place to start, because to me, it gave me clarity. Okay, so big love, divine love. We start off that one of its major qualities is that it has spiritual vision. So it's not about emotion. In our human form, though, right now, of course, we say love and we feel love as an emotion. I mean, if we think about the people in our lives that we love, we feel it within us. But see, then in the same instant, we can turn around and use that term to describe how we feel about a movie. Okay, so it's not all of it is love, but I mean, I would say, yeah, I love this movie and I also love my family, right? and I love to do this thing, and I love to go to this place. But divine love has spiritual vision. Divine love is when our perception or how we see the world is aligned with the God mind. That is spiritual vision. We're aligned with the divine within us because we seek out the wonder that is God. And then we can see that love is a quality of spirit, but it is also activity, it's action, and it is power. It is the power to actually start changing things in us, to experience that transformation, but then also cause things to change in our world, the package of our life. Teacher Yeshua came into this world, and I feel like he came into this world as a fully empowered soul because he was just already like aware of so many things. But he performed all these miracles, but he also demonstrated how the miracle works. Like he demonstrated how he did this, and he was teaching why it is actually possible for all of us to do what he did. And he even said that all these things I do, you will do and more. And so he said the way that we perform these miracles, the way that we start really showing up in the world in a big way, he said, we just do this. This is the new thing we have to do. We have to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and might, and to love each other as Yeshua loved. To love each other as Yeshua loved. So, loving God, it means we're focusing our attention on divine consciousness, on the activity of the divine. We're choosing what we focus our attention on, seeking out the wonder that is God. And then we love each other as Christ loved by seeing God in all people, by seeing that light in all people. It turns out it is a creative power. It's a power. And he said that he came to fulfill the law. And when he talks about fulfilling the law, of course, the law at the time was the 10 Commandments. When the 10 Commandments were created and brought to humanity, humanity needed those 10 Commandments. They needed to be told, don't steal. They needed to be told that. But by the time Yeshua arrived on this planet, humanity was now ready for an up level. So the 10 Commandments went from being law, you must live by this, to becoming guidelines. They're guidelines like laws or guidelines in our life right now. We don't have to think about, oh, I'm not supposed to murder somebody. We don't think about that. We don't have to, because we just know it. Nobody has to remind us. When you go out today, remember, no murdering. So we don't have to be told that. He gave us this new law. This is what we do now because humanity up-leveled to the point where now they were ready to understand God was not an outside force. God was not out there somewhere. Now God is within. Spirit is within. And that was what he taught. So he came to fulfill that law and bring the law of love. That's the law of love. Love is the law now. Now that encompasses a lot. Okay, the law of love is about unity consciousness or oneness consciousness. There's a law of oneness where we see, because we only see God in all things, what we see is wholeness in this world. We see wholeness in our lives, not the brokenness. That's not in unity consciousness. That's not in the law of love to see the brokenness. And we know that this can take a lot of effort because when we look around at things that are happening in our life, we can see things that are broken. I mean, they're right there in front of us. We see conditions that don't serve humanity. We see situations that are more harmful to people than helpful. But see, in unity consciousness, the reason we don't focus on the brokenness so that we can tap into that power of love, so that we're seeing with the spiritual vision. We see with spiritual vision, because it is seeing with spiritual vision that brings the divine ideas and the inspiration and the reminder that we listen and act in faith. Whatever's going on out here, yeah, maybe it's unfair. But when we see with spiritual vision, we are much more likely to receive information about what we could do next that adds to the goodness in the world, that adds to the kindness and the creativity in the world. So we start with our spiritual vision so that we're seeing in the world as God sees. Then we have our second quality here is that divine love. Love recognizes itself in all things. This is a non-judgmental force. It just recognizes that everything is from it. Everything is from the all. Everything that's ever been, everything that's yet to be. It's everything in the physical world and everything in the unseen realm. It's all the all. Now, there are different qualities of it. Some are creative qualities. Some are the potential for something, right? Some of this quality is the seed that's dormant because it has yet to be planted. And some of it is the seed sprouting roots and growing up into the physical world. But it sees God in all things. Now we add to our spiritual perception by now understanding that because the all is all, that we actually share in a divine identity. We talk a lot about how we're emanation of the God source, but we are actually sharing this divine identity of being from the God source. So we are sharing in this divine identity. So we're adding in our spiritual perception, like a higher level of being to see how all are one. So when I see the light in you, it means that I'm remembering the light in me. And when we see the light within, it sets us free. And it sets us free because when we see the light within each other, we don't have to insist on people behaving a certain way. We just see the light in each other. And it sets us free because we know God is at work in all things. And we don't have to worry about how God is working through other people. We are listening and acting on what's coming through us. If I forget the light in another person, it knows that I have forgotten it in myself. Yeah. So that would mean I was not loving God with all my heart, soul, mind, and might. It would mean I was not focusing on God. I was not putting my attention on how the light is everywhere present and in every person. The next quality is divine love dissolves judgment. And judgment can also go with, and when I say judgment, I mean blaming and complaining, deciding, oh, this isn't right. I don't mean like self-righteous judgment, and actually, no, righteous judgment. Yeshua talked about righteous judgment is seeing the way that God sees. That's discernment, okay? But judging, when we talk about judging, we usually mean like, oh, pointing a finger, blaming, complaining, rejecting something. So when we are getting judgmental, we are actually rejecting something the way it is, thinking that we know better. Love sees God in all things, though, and love recognizes itself as all things. So divine love, cosmic love, big love, it doesn't reject anything. Doesn't reject anything. It doesn't reject anything. So every experience is just an experience. Every experience is just an experience. So it's not rejecting anything. When we are rejecting things in our life, we feel more suffering in our life because things aren't going our way. When we reject things, it can start feeling like life's not fair and it has to change. I just need this thing to change. It just can't be this way. I need it to change so I can be happy. And that's what rejection is going to feel like. But love brings harmony. Love brings harmony and healing. In the Course in Miracles, it says, the holiest place on earth is where an ancient hatred becomes a present love. The holiest place on earth is right here. Each of us, anywhere that we stand, is sacred ground. And the reason it is sacred ground is because that's where we're standing in that moment. The holiest place on earth is when we stop rejecting. We stop rejecting the things we don't like, and instead we are seeking out the wonder that is God. We are seeking out the divine activity in how it shows up in all areas of our life. We like the term divine intervention for sure, and divine intervention happens in conditions that we don't like. Divine intervention can happen in people we don't like. So that's what we're looking at how the all is in all things. So we seek out the wonder that is God. We're seeking the light, is what we're doing. We seek out the light, and when we seek the light, we find the light. What you seek is seeking you. So when we seek the light, we find the light because it also seeks us. And now we are seeing in the world the qualities of God. We see the qualities of love and understanding and mercy and compassion and wisdom, kindness, curiosity. So that's what we're going to experience then. Love dissolves judgment. Love dissolves judgment because why would it judge anything? It's all it. It's all. It's all the all. It has pure holy vision is what it has. It has pure holy vision. Now, divine love, it heals and harmonizes. And the reason it heals and it harmonizes is because it restores truth. It restores truth with a capital T. And the truth is that everything is an expression of the divine. And that includes us. We are each of us an expression of the divine. God is all things, and it can't be any other way. There's not one person who was created outside of that wholeness. And if that were true, God would be finite. Goodness would be finite. Love, everything would be finite. Okay, so healing happens when we stop insisting that the world do things how we think the world should do it. There would be so much chaos. If all of a sudden we were all of us like really managing the planet, it would be doing so many weird things. And I know we do affect the planet for sure. Our energy does affect the planet. Maybe that is why there's so many crazy things happening, because we're all like at odds with each other. We're not aligned all together in divine consciousness. So I think that's why Rumi also said we're just walking each other home. We're just learning to align together so we get that momentum. All right, so healing and harmony happens because we now see the truth that everything is a divine expression. Some of it's mismanaged. There's some energy on this planet. Some creations are mismanaged. Some people are creating, but they're not honoring the divine source that they are. And so they're misusing this divine energy. They're misusing it and they're miscreating. Okay, just like I'm using an iPad for my notes, I could also use it as a doorstop. I could use it to scrape ice off my windshield, but I wouldn't be using it for its purpose. I'd be misusing something I could end up breaking. All right, we experience healing and harmony because the truth that all are one is restored to our spiritual vision. In the book of 1 John, if we love one another, God lives in us, and God's love is perfected in us. Loving one another, learning to see the light in one another, this is how we up-level ourselves. This is how we grow. This is how we actually experience the transformation. This is how we actually learn that we are peace generators, because we learn to see the light in even people that can stress us out. When we're learning to see the light, as we can do that for the most difficult people in our lives, we're generating peace within us. We are up-leveling our own consciousness. We need each other. Like, we need each other to have these experiences. Right here and now, this is easy. This is very easy to have this feeling of peace within. But go out Monday morning and drive in traffic. Go to Riverside. Drive yourself to Riverside. Okay, you'll be working for that inner peace. But as we love each other and also release our idea of the experiences around us, the conditions around us, and love God, even in the conditions that we're dealing with. that divine love then is perfected within us, and it causes the expansion in our consciousness. So love, it gives us spiritual vision, and it helps us to change our perception as we align with divine consciousness. We recognize then that we are, all of us, expressions of the one source. And this shifts our perception and our understanding so that we can dissolve the judgments. We can dissolve anything that would create the idea of separation within us, separation from each other or separation from the God source. And then we let love harmonize and heal, and it brings things together for our good. Love as a healing and harmonizing force in our life. This is where synchronicities happen, right place, right time, getting that idea at the right time, listening and acting, and then we experience that little things are shifting in our life. This is the healing and the harmonizing force of love. It brings things together. Now, when we change our perception, when we align with the divine consciousness, when we recognize God in others, and love is healing and harmonizing through us, for us, as us, and out into our life, now we are a love amplifier. That's why we are a love amplifier. So we are a peace generator, but we are a love amplifier, because we bring that big love through us, and it gets bigger as it goes out into our life. And it affects people as it goes out into our life. I'm going to let you just soak that in for a second. I am a love amplifier. In fact, that's our affirmation. Okay, let's say that together. And I'm going to ask you for this. You can either go like this, like Mona was doing, or if you want to put your hands over your heart and just breathe it in. I am a love amplifier. 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 Now, divine love, I know I keep showing this, but I want you to look at it now from the other direction, okay? It heals and it harmonizes. It heals and it harmonizes, meaning it's going to dissolve all that judgment because it recognizes itself in all things, and it has spiritual vision. Spiritual vision is to see the possibility of how God might work in these conditions, and God might show up in these conditions, how God might work through a world leader, or how God might work through the people who serve the world leader, how God might work through our bosses or our coworkers or our family. This is spiritual vision. We can be surprised and delighted because we don't have to decide where the miracle is coming from. Because it could come from any source, because any source is from the all. So, going back to teacher Yeshua's instruction, we have to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and might. It means we are consciously learning how to choose what we are giving our attention to. What are we giving our attention to? Now, in a physical, easy way to understand this, how our energy flows, where our attention goes, this is all about our brain's reticular activating system. Now, how I have noticed this show up in my life in just the last 4 weeks is in social media. I stopped to watch a video of one person baking a 3-ingredient cake, and I thought it was cool, so I watched it. And then I watched the next one. Now I am seeing all these like how to bake Christmas goodies. And I'm just kind of living vicariously through all that. Ooh, fudge pie. Whoa. But see, that's really a simplified way of how it works out. Our brain, we just focus on one thing. And of course, this is also with the help of social media. Social media, it has an algorithm, and it is also tapping into what we're focusing on, what we're giving our attention to. But see, in a spiritual way, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and might. We are having to shift our attention away from the things we don't like, the things that we think are unfair, the things that are blowing up in life, and we just think that is so wrong, it needs to change. We have to actually consciously make ourselves focus on the wonders that are God instead of spiraling out into the problem thinking, because our brain's amazing reticular activating system, if we find one thing in the world that we think doesn't work, our brain is going to be like, well, you want to see everything else that's not working? And that's just what it's going to keep showing us. So we shift our attention, and this is why we have to do it with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, and all of our might, because it is very easy to go into our automatic way of thinking. It's when we have a habit, and I really learned a lot about this when I did my complaint-free living, but complaining is a habit. Complaining is a habit. Blaming is a habit. It's a go-to response to the world. And so when I was learning about complaint-free living, I could not believe how much effort it took to keep my mouth shut, just long enough for me to think through what I was about to say. That's why for me, the 21-day complaint-free living took 4 months, because I had to keep starting over. Okay? So our attention is directing where all of our energy is going because of our brain's reticular activating system. And what's funny is teacher Yeshua didn't know about this, didn't care probably. Probably to him it was just as simple as stop looking for all the bad things in life and instead focus on how God can show up. It's going to feel a lot better to focus on how God, how divine source could inspire us or inspire others and show up in life in miraculous ways. Feels a lot better to focus on that. Now, it doesn't mean we ignore the things that aren't working. In fact, here's our invitation for this week. When we happen to notice there are a lot of things that aren't working, we can ask, okay, am I getting all caught up in the problems of life? Is that where I'm caught up? Or is that where I'm focusing all my attention? Or am I using all of my heart, my soul, my mind, and my might to focus on the wonders that are God? If we're feeling kind of miserable, or if we feel like we're suffering, we're probably not focusing on the wonders that are God. Okay, so we can focus on the wonders that are God, even when there are things that are not working out right, because again, we don't want to ignore those. Okay, but we can ask ourselves, okay, well, if I'm going to focus on God, I'm going to focus on the divine, because I want to get some divine inspiration on how to show up in my life now, right? We can ask these questions. How can I show up to my life right now? How could I show up? Could I just, be cheerful? Could I start a conversation with somebody? What divine idea wants to be expressed through me? Now, this is the one I like for when I'm looking a problem, like right in the eye there, right? This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. To ask instead, what divine idea wants to work through me? What divine idea wants to come through me and be made manifest so I can start shifting these things in my life? Or how does this healing and harmonizing force want to work through me right now? Okay, this healing, harmonizing force, love, a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible, how might it direct the next thing for me to do in my life? How might it direct me to open the way for more divine expression? How might it direct me to follow through on something? How does this healing and harmonizing force want to work through me right now? And when we ask these questions, ask and receive, we will receive something. When we listen and act, we listen and act, we listen and act. And then that is the reason why we can create heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you were divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one time, one of a kind, cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.